Hey guys, Bridget Jones here. No, but seriously, like, I literally am her. So today's video is just a bit random, really, but I found it in my video notes that I'd literally made over a year ago, and I thought, why not, you know? A bit of context for this video is that I was chatting to one of my bestest and oldest friends who I've known for about 15 years, and we message all the time, and basically I talk to her whenever my life goes a bit pear-shaped, and whenever anything eventful happens that is worthy of laughter and cringe-worthiness. And we were having this conversation, and we basically came to the conclusion that I'm like Bridget Jones, and I made a list of reasons why I'm like Bridget Jones, and the list is pretty long. So I thought I'd just go through the reasons with you today and chat about why I am Bridget Jones reincarnated. Well, incarnated, because obviously she's a character, but you know what I mean. The first point on the list, and probably the most relatable, is that she's a wannabe journalist. I mean, obviously, lots of people want to be journalists, but I've wanted to be a journalist. Do I want to say journalist one more time? Journalist, 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 journalist. I've wanted to be a journalist since I was like 16, and just, you know, I've done a few questionable stories. Essentially, that was the first point that I was like, ooh, that's a similarity that I share with Bridget. The next thing is obviously that I'm awful and clumsy with men. I've had many a tale where things have just not gone quite right, or I've embarrassed myself, or I'm unlucky in love, some would say. So many of those instances that Bridget has, I'm just cringing at the relatability and how much I feel like it's me. There's quite a few points about love on here, which I will talk to you about now. Oh God. Why is my life such a sham? Another point relating to men is that my mum tries to set me up regularly. Whenever she sees a guy under the age of about 25, she's like, oh, Becca, look, 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 look. And then essentially tries to matchmake us in some way, shape or form. She's like, go talk to him, or she finds a colleague at work that she's like, no, go talk to him, or exchange numbers or whatever. I have a lot of male friends, and my mum regularly checks in if she sees a photo of me with a guy and is like, oh, Becca, he looks nice. Do you wanna, you know? Bridget's love life is obviously very up and down, but at one point, I think in the first film, I can't remember who it is, it's either Hugh Grant or Colin Firth, one of them says to her, oh, I like you just the way you are. Which, to be honest, I think is a bit of an insult. It kind of implies that she's not great, but she'll do. Do you know? Like, I just don't really understand that statement. But I've had that said to me before, and I was like, thank you? I didn't really know how to respond. I think I just kind of smiled and nodded and I was like, sick. Moving on from my love life, I'm also a very questionable excuse for a classy lady, like Bridget. I seem to embarrass myself in most situations, and I just kind of end up saying too much in a lot of scenarios where I just shouldn't, and I end up over-explaining myself and then embarrassing myself, and people kind of look at me like, great, and they kind of wait for me to stop talking. Bridget also means to diet, but never does. Like, she kept a diary where she writes like the date and then her weight and then her diary entry, and I did that for several months and then gave up because, like Bridget, she gives up on writing diaries every so often. And yeah, I just kind of always have in the back of my mind like, oh yeah, probably should get fit, probably should go to the gym, but then I remember cake exists and realised that I don't want to spend my time on a sweaty treadmill. I would rather be sat in bed eating ice cream or cake. Another relatable thing I found about Bridget, she loves wine and I love wine. I know that's kind of a tentative link, but at one point, I think it was in my January exams, I was literally sat in bed holding a wine glass in one hand whilst typing my essay out in the other at about 11 PM at night. And to be honest, I felt quite classy in that moment. Well, classy is maybe not the right word. Sophisticated in my endeavours. I also can't really cook. Like, I can get by, and some of the things I make are like, alright. But if I'm given a new recipe, or just told to make something, and, you know, use your imagination, it doesn't normally go to plan, really. In the first term, basically first month of university, I gave myself food poisoning because I hadn't cooked fish for long enough, and it was a frozen fillet of fish as well. How can I get that wrong? Also, like the opening sequence, I think it is in the first film, I like singing power ballads when I'm home alone. I don't often cry to them though, so maybe that's one difference that Bridget and I have, but I do love a good sing-song when I'm home alone, when I'm attempting to cook, or in the shower, or just kind of sat on my bed, not really doing anything, but singing along to some power ballads that might be deemed a bit sad. Other people do that though, right? It's not just me. There's also one instance in one of the Bridget Jones films, I can't remember which one it was, where she's at some sort of work function, I think, and they do a quiz, and the only round that she knows how to do is the pop culture quiz. That's me. Every single time I've tried to do a pub quiz, I don't really answer the other questions, but if there's a pop culture round, guarantee I will get at least 8 out of 10. I don't know when some war happened or like who some leader of some country was one time, but I could tell you the #1 single of some band, or who got married to who, or who divorced who in like 2009. This is really bad, the fact that I don't know when some wars happened, but I could tell you the names of the children of some celebrity. Every so often when I do something fairly Bridget-esque, I write it down, and I've got a couple of scenarios that feel very Bridget Jones to me. One of them is that I got stuck in a multi-storey car park. I was driving on my own and my car doesn't have power steering, okay? That's my defence for this story. And I just took the corner a bit too narrowly and I got stuck halfway down the ramp. There was a queue of people coming the other way. I had to do a reverse hill start, which was very hard, and I obviously had to like turn the wheel really frantically, and I was dripping in sweat, I was like almost crying. The guy in the car next to me was like kind of looking at me in sort of pity, but was basically trying not to laugh, and I was there kind of being like, oh yeah, great, okay, yeah, like it was awful. It was so bad, and I was there for a solid like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, holding up this massive queue of people. It was a very stressful time in my life, but I feel like that is exactly a situation Bridget would find herself in. I don't even know if she can drive, but if she could, I feel like that would be her. You know how the Apple store has panes of glass at the front instead of a proper door? Well, when I was walking out of there once, I was on my phone, really stupidly, walking towards where I thought the exit was, and it wasn't. I looked up momentarily, I was about this far away from the whacking into the pane of glass, and I did the awkward look round where you see if anyone actually saw you do that embarrassing thing, and there were 2 Apple people just stood by the front door just looking at me, and I was just like, haha, yeah, great, kind of awkwardly walked around the glass, kind of basically ran out the shopping centre. It was quite embarrassing, but I feel like maybe if it was Bridget she would have properly walked into the door, but luckily I kind of dodged a bullet there, I guess. Maybe. This is a very niche Bridget reference, but at one point in the film she goes to a fancy dress party, or what she thinks is a fancy dress party. I have almost been in that situation before. I turned up to a Halloween party when I was 17, and I hadn't really had that much of experience of going to Halloween parties before. It was with a crowd that I wouldn't normally associate myself with, and I turned up in what I thought was a good outfit, right? I was, in theory, meant to be a zombie cowboy, when in reality I looked like a zombie scarecrow. And bearing in mind I was wearing one of my dad's old shirts, put some really questionable makeup on my face, and I turned up to this party and all the girls were dressed as black cats or hot witches. And I was there looking like a dead scarecrow. I genuinely got stared at, like people would walk past me, kind of like look me up and down and laugh and walk away, and it was just not a fun time, really. And I just felt very Bridget Jones-esque when she turns up to that party that she thinks is Tarts and Vickers, when it actually isn't, and she's there in some really questionable outfit with bunny ears. And yeah, it just felt like her. And also like Georgia Nicholson from Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging when she turns up as a stuffed olive to that party. I feel like I'm a mixture of the 2 characters just in my being. It's quite bad, really. And lastly, like Bridget, I have a very supportive group of friends who I trust with my entire life, and I really hope I do trust them, because the stories they know, I just really wish that they don't say them, because some of them are really embarrassing. And there's one friend in particular who this list is inspired or co-written with, that every so often I just message her and be like, oh, by the way, I've done a thing, and then she just waits and she's like, oh god, what have you done now? And it just feels like one of those relationships that Bridget Jones has with her friends, where they just take the mick out of things that she's done and laugh about it and then console her later. And that's what my friendship with this friend is like, and it's the best thing ever. So that's it for this video. I think basically what we could take away from this is that I'm Bridget Jones in human form, and I'm just a very embarrassing, cringe-worthy excuse for a 21-year-old. But to be honest, what 21-year-olds aren't cringe? Probably quite a lot, actually. That was probably a really stupid thing to say. A lot of people are probably normal, but let's be honest, I will never be that. Thank you very much for watching, whatever this video was. I don't really know how it went, to be honest, but let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. If you relate to Bridget in any way, let me know. If you haven't seen the films, then shame on you, but go educate yourself. And I feel like you might have me in the back of your mind being like, oh my god, this is really like Becca. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you Thursday at 5. Bye!